Hello everyone, welcome to ITLS Academy. This is your mentor Dr. Shamaita Basu, and in this session we will be starting with the next topic of forensic technologies, that is forensic pathology. Okay, so this is the first session. Okay, so starting with the introduction, now see, what do you mean by pathology? Pathology means anything which is not normal or anything which is not following the normal physiological process. Okay, that is what is pathology. Now, what do you mean by forensic pathology? Forensic pathology means obviously something which is dealing with the death. Okay, so mainly in forensic pathology we will be studying about what can be the different types of death, what can be the different causes of death, what are the different factors that will be affecting death, and etc etc. Okay, so let's just start with introduction. Okay, now how will you define death? Death is the cessation or the end of life. Means that person or that living organism will no longer be called as a living one. Okay. Death is the irreversible cessation of circulation of blood and brain activity. Okay, so irreversible, this term is very important. Cessation means end. Okay, and irreversible means I will just like to highlight this word irreversible because this is the most important word in this sentence. Yeah. So irreversible means something which cannot be reversed, which has happened and that is permanent. No one can do anything about it to change it. Okay. Okay. Next point, death is not a single activity. It is a process consisting of several stages. This is also very important. Okay, it is not a single activity. It is a process consisting of several stages. Now, what do you mean by several stages? Several stages which will go on in several organ systems of our body. Okay, the heart will process death in a particular manner. The brain will process death in a particular manner. The stomach, the intestine will process brain in another manner. Okay, so it is not a single activity. It is a process which will be consisting of various stages. Okay. Okay. Now coming to few terminologies which are important, which you should know with respect to forensic pathology. Okay, what are they? First is forensic medicine. Okay, so what is forensic medicine? It is the application of various medical specialties to legal issues. Okay, means when you are connecting medicine with legal issues, with law enforcement agencies, that is what is forensic medicine. And second is pathology. We all know what is pathology. It is the study of disease. And what is the role of a forensic pathologist, or how will you define a forensic pathologist? It is a he or she will be a medical doctor who studies injuries and diseases to determine the cause and manner of death, particularly in suspicious death. So here the most in this entire sentence, the most important word will be suspicious death. Okay, because there is where the story or the importance of you know the term forensic comes in. Okay, that it is a suspicious death. Only if it is a suspicious death, means it is not from the death or from the scene, from the condition of the body. It is not being able to uh, mm, be clear whether what kind of death is it, whether it's a natural death or accidental death or a homicide or a suicide. Okay, so in those cases, those deaths which are suspicious, only in those cases a forensic pathologist will come, and he or she will start studying the different injuries that are apparent on the body of the dead person, as well as if there is any history of different diseases, in order to determine the cause as well as the manner of death. Manner means how exactly the death of that person has occurred. Okay. Next is medical examiner. Who is it? He is also a forensic pathologist who will be conducting autopsies to determine the cause, manner, and mode of death by examining the internal organs of the corpse. Okay. Now, this is something very important, autopsy. I will be talking about autopsies in this topic only, in this topic of forensic pathology. Okay. So what is autopsy, how are autopsies conducted, what are the different requirements for autopsies, all these things I will be talking about in details. So autopsy will also come under forensic pathology, and it will also be one of the duties of the forensic pathologist itself. Okay, why? Because autopsy is nothing but studying the internal organs of the dead body. Means what was the condition of that person, what was the condition of the internal organs, of the organ systems of that person when that person was killed or when that person actually died. Okay, so for that we need to perform autopsy, and it will be helping us to know about cause of death, manner of death, and mode of death. Okay. Second is, next terminology is coroner. What is coroner? It is a public officer whose primary function is to investigate by inquest any death thought to be of other than natural causes. Okay, so basically coroner will perform the investigating part as a law officer or a police officer. Okay, he will be dealing with the law and regulations part. Okay. Okay, so now coming on to the next part of this of today's session, that is the manner of death. Now, there can be different manners of death. Manner of death is basically how the person has died. Okay. So, there are four ways a person could die, referred to as the manner of death. What are they? It can be a natural death. We all know what is a natural death. Natural death is mainly due to age related issues or disease related issues. If a person is already suffering from a terminal disease, then it's very natural that that person can die by natural death, isn't it? Or maybe if a person is very much elderly with different comorbidities, with different diseases already, so in that case also natural death is very much expected. Okay. Second is accidental. Accidental means any kind of accident, among which RTA will be most prominent. RTA as in road traffic accident, that is the most common type of accidental death. Other than that, many other types of accidental death can be there. It can be due to burn. Okay, it can be due to any kind of sudden injury to the head, which is accidental, obviously. Okay. Third is suicidal. We all know what is suicidal. See, sui means self, side means killing. So self killing is basically suicide. And fourth is homicide. Okay, so homi comes from the word homo sapiens, and again side means killing. So when you are killing any other homo sapiens, any other human, that is homicidal, means basically murder or killing. Okay. And there can be another manner of death also, which is undetermined or unknown. Okay, so undetermined or unknown can also be a manner of death, but it is actually not that much common, because when actually after investigating, if the forensic pathologist is failing to failing to subject that particular kind of death under any of these four types of death, then only it will go under this category, or this category of manner of death, that is undetermined or unknown. Okay. Okay, so I have just given the proper definitions of these each types of death: natural death, accidental death, suicide, and homicide. Okay, so what will be natural death? It is caused by the interruption and failure of body functions resulting from age or disease, and it is the most common cause of death. Exactly what I said. Accidental death will be caused by unplanned events, mainly car accident, that is RTA, which I mentioned, road traffic accident. Not necessarily a car accident, it can be a bike accident, it can be a scooty accident, it can be a truck accident, it can be a train accident. Okay, everything will come under RTA. Third is suicide, when a person kills himself on purpose. Okay, example hanging. There can be many other ways of suicide also. And last is homicide, the death of one person by another person, for example shooting. Again, it can be by various other methods also. Okay. Okay, now I've given some case studies just to make you develop interest in this topic. And also, as I mentioned earlier, case studies helps you to understand the topic in a much more depth, but in a simpler manner. Okay, without getting confused. So the first case study that I've given over here: a man with a heart condition is attacked and dies from a heart attack during the assault. Is the manner of death an accident or a homicide? Again, I would like to repeat, because these kind of questions or these kind of case studies are confusing. We often get confused and give the wrong answer. Okay. So see, again I'm repeating, a man with a heart condition is attacked means he is already having a disease condition, he is already having some pathological disease, and dies from a heart attack during the assault means he was also assaulted. Okay, is the manner of death an accident or a homicide? What do you think? Obviously it's a homicide, because whatever heart attack has occurred, it has occurred during the assault only, means when the person was assaulted by the criminal, by the suspect, isn't it? So although the person was already suffering from a heart disease, it does not necessarily mean that he has died due to the heart disease only. Okay, because it has, the heart attack has occurred during the assault. So if the person was not assaulted, if the person was not assaulted, then he would not have died, isn't it? So obviously it will be a homicide. Second case study, let's see. An elderly woman dies after being kept from receiving proper health care by her son. Is the manner of death natural or homicide? Again I'm repeating, again it's a bit confusing. An elderly woman means a elderly woman, so obviously like a aged woman, so obviously it's very obvious that she will suffer from some kind of disease, isn't it? Due to senescence, due to age related issues, after being kept from receiving proper care by her son, means the woman was suffering from some disease, but due to age related issues, but she was not being given the proper health checkup by her son. Is this a natural death or a homicidal death? Obviously again it will be a homicidal death, isn't it? Indirectly homicide, not directly, isn't it? It's not that someone came and assaulted her or killed her, but it's an indirect kind of homicidal death, isn't it? Because her son was not giving her the proper health care that she needed as an elderly person, isn't it? So obviously it will be a homicide. Okay, so see, that is what the answer they're saying over here. In both cases, homicide will be the manner of death. Okay. Okay, now moving on to the next topic, that is next slide, that is cause and mechanism of death. Again, very important as far as forensic pathology is concerned. So the reason someone dies is called the cause of death. We all know that. Now, what is proximate cause of death? Proximate means something which is very close. It is proximal. So it refers to an underlying cause of death as opposed to the final cause. Okay. So just in case of the homicidal case that I just mentioned 2 slides before, of the person who was already suffering from a heart disease and he died during the assault due to heart attack. So cause of death is two. One though obviously is the manner of death is homicidal only. No confusion in that. But cause of death, if you see, the proximal cause of death will be his heart problem, will be his heart disease, isn't it? But the final cause will be the attack due to the will be the assault by the suspect or by the criminal. Okay, so in that case the proximal cause of death will be the heart problem, so that is the underlying cause of disease, so and sorry, underlying cause of death. Another example they have given over here, say for example radiation. We all know that radiation causes cancer, so radiation exposure is the proximal cause of death, but the final cause of death will be cancer, isn't it? If a person is there who is suffering from breast cancer and the person dies after treatment, maybe after treatment, or maybe it has remained undetected, and then when detected, she was in the last stage and she died. So the final cause of death will be breast cancer, but the proximal cause of death will be the environmental factor which caused the breast cancer, which can be radiation, it can be a bad lifestyle, it can be too much of junk food, too much of sedentary lifestyle. Cancer, any kind of cancer has two predisposition factors. It has a genetic factor predisposition, as well as it has a uh, environmental predisposition. So this radiation part will come under environmental predisposition. Okay, so that is what is proximal cause of death. I hope I have made myself clear. Okay, now coming to mechanism of death. So mechanism of death describes the specific change in the body that brought about the cessation of life. So mechanism of death, exactly how the death occurred. Okay, say for example will be cause of death is shooting, mechanism of death will be loss of blood. So that is the basic difference. Okay, again say for example cause of death is piercing the stomach with a knife. So the mechanism of death will be loss of blood, puncture of stomach, isn't it? So that is the mechanism of death. Means during death, what are the different physiological changes that occurred in the body? Okay, what are the pathological things that were found in the body? That will be the mechanism of death. Okay. Okay, so in this slide, I have just given some examples of causes of death and examples of mechanisms of death. So examples of causes of death will be heart attack, gunshot wound, skull fracture, diseases or injuries, stroke, burning, drowning, strangulation, hanging, suffocation, massive trauma, and bludgeoning. Okay, what is bludgeoning? Okay, so bludgeoning actually means hitting someone several times repeatedly with a heavy object. Okay. Uh, yeah. And next, coming to examples of mechanisms of death. Okay. So what will be that? Bleeding to death, which is also known as exsanguination. Infection is in bloodstream, which is known as sepsis, we all know. Cerebral contusion, which is also known as brain trauma. Brain bleeding, which is also known as intracerebral bleed. Stop breathing, which is known as asphyxia, and pulmonary arrest. Card means failure of lungs, basically respiratory paralysis, and cardiac arrest means heart failure. Okay, so these can be examples of mechanisms of death. Okay, several other examples they have also given. So this is basically examples in groups. Like if the manner of death is homicide, then the cause of death will be smothering, and the mechanism of death can be asphyxia. Means these are just hypothetical examples. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean that if the manner of death is homicide, the cause of death will only be smothering. No, the cause of death can be many things. It can be shooting, it can be stabbing with a knife. Okay, it can be hitting several times with a heavy object. Okay, so if the cause of death is smothering, the mechanism of death will be asphyxia, obviously, isn't it? Because smothering means stopping the breathing mechanism of a person. Okay. Second example that they have given over here, again, manner of death is homicide, but the cause of death is something else, it is stabbing, and the mechanism of death will be loss of blood. Okay. So again, I have given a case study. Let's just see what they're saying over here. Man shot during robbery. Man stabilizes, develops pneumonia, followed by kidney failure, liver failure, heart failure, and then death. Kidney failure, liver failure, heart failure means basically multiple organ failure. Had prior lung and heart disease and probably would have survived if not for these diseases. Again, I am repeating. Man shot during robbery. Man stabilizes, develops pneumonia, followed by kidney failure, liver failure, heart failure, death. Had prior lung and heart disease and probably would have survived if not for these diseases. So obviously from the last sentence, the one thing that we can surely make out is that the manner of death will be homicide, isn't it? Because if he was not shot, he would have survived in spite of the different pathological conditions that he had. Cause of death will be obviously shooting or gunshot, and the mechanism of death will be heart failure. Heart failure, or rather, I would like to put it as multi organ failure, because they are saying kidney failure, liver failure, heart failure. So, most of the major organs of the body has failed. So, it's a multi organ failure. Okay, so let's see what they're saying. These are the questions that they have asked for. Let's see for the answers. Manner of death, homicide, as I said. Cause of death, gunshot, as I said. And mechanism of death, heart failure. Okay, rather than heart failure, a better one would be multi organ failure. Okay. Okay, now coming to the next topic of today's session, that is time of death. Okay, now during an autopsy, a forensic examiner, FE stands for forensic examiner, wants to determine when the person died. That is one of the most important findings or most important aims of autopsy. Okay, whenever a autopsy is performed, two main things are the aims of any autopsy. One is the time of death, and second is the manner of death, manner or rather the mechanism of death, the cause of death. Okay, so many factors are there which are used to approximate the time of death. What are they? Liver motis, rigor mortis, alga mortis, stomach and intestinal contents, and insects. Now, this insects factor I have omitted from this topic of forensic pathology, because insects factor firstly is not valid in all cases. It's not that much important, and the most important part is that to talk about this insects factor, we need to talk in details about entomology, means the study of insects, which is entirely a separate subject. Okay, so that's why I've just omitted this last part, but these factors like liver motis, rigor mortis, alga mortis, and stomach and intestinal contents, these I would like to talk about in details. Okay, so we will start with liver motis. What is it? So it's basically, it refers to the death color. Okay, means what is the color of the body after death. Blood seeps down to the tissues and settles into the lower parts of the body, because obviously that is the normal physiological process due to gravity. It will be pulling it downwards, isn't it? Hemoglobin turns purple when it spills out of the cells. So obviously blood circulation has gone. The person has died means blood circulation has stopped, because the brain is not working, brain and heart is not working, isn't it? So dhire dhire what will happen, whatever blood circulation has stopped, but blood is still there inside the body of the person, isn't it? Normal volume of blood is 5 liters, so 5 liters of blood is still there inside the body of the person. Now obviously if the cause of death is loss of blood, then obviously instead of 5 liter maybe 3 liter will be there, or maybe 2 liter will be there, but still blood will be there inside the body, isn't it? Now what will happen to that blood? That blood will gradually seep down to the lower parts of the body due to gravitational pull, and then also the hemoglobin, it will be coming out of the cells because it has no function to do, and gradually it will turn purple. Purplish color is visible wherever blood pools. So those parts of the body where blood is pooling, purple color will be visible. Pooling of blood, which is also known as lividity, provides a clue as to how long the person has been dead, because it needs some time for the lividity to occur. Okay, it begins at about 2 hours after death and becomes permanent after 8 hours. So the process of lividity, the process of this blood pooling towards the lower parts of the body, will start only after 2 hours of the death, and it will be becoming permanent after 8 hours. Means after 8 hours whatever blood has to be pulled, it will be pulled. Okay, if the corpse is left outside on a hot summer day, liver mortis takes place at a faster rate. Cool room, liver mortis is slower, and that is one of the major reasons why after death the bodies are stored in the morgue, where it's a freezer condition. Okay, in a morgue the temperature is at least I think -2 or -3 degrees Celsius. Okay, so why the reason? The reason is that if the temperature is cool, then liver mortis, not only liver mortis, rigor mortis, alga mortis, everything will set in a slow manner. Okay, whereas if the body is left outside on a hot summer day, the rate of this liver mortis will start happening much quickly. It's also affected by anything impeding flow of blood, such as belts and wristwatches. Okay, belts and wristwatches, they will be like wherever they will be put on, they will be to some extent restricting the flow of blood. So in those portions also it will happen in a faster manner. It also provides the position of corpse during first 8 hours. Okay, what was the position of the corpse exactly after death will also be found out by observing liver mortis. It reveals if a body has been moved. That is also very important, because in many cases what happens, the criminals kill in some place and then they just shift the body to some other place to just hide the evidence. Okay, and in that shifting they also change the position of the body, so that will also be caught in the analysis of liver mortis. Okay, so I've just given few images. These images are, I know they're disturbing, visually disturbing and maybe sometimes emotionally or mentally disturbing, but still it's a important part of forensic pathology. Without images I will not be able to make you understand properly. Okay, so that's why I have given these images. So please avoid seeing this in front of children. Okay, so liver motifs is also known as hypostasis or lividity. The word lividity means blue color of death. Okay, it comes from two Latin words, liver, which means bluish color, and mortis, which means death. And so basically, liver mortis is post-mortem lividity. Post-mortem means after death, post means after, mortem means death, and lividity means black and blue. So as you can see in the lower parts of the body, the color has become bluish or purplish. Okay, again see, same thing, lower parts of the body, lower limbs, they have become purplish or bluish. Lower legs showing both lividity and blanching. Pressure points from ground, bells, etc. prevent blood from settling. Okay, and this is again just a dead body, basically we who has set in liver mortis. Okay, so I think that's it in this session. We will be soon moving on to the next session of forensic pathology. Till then, thank you and goodbye. Please like, share, and subscribe ITLS Academy. Thank you.